Place your hands out in front, and then just start to flip them, coordinating with each other. Kind of set a brisk speed. And then we're going to take one of those hands and go half time. So ready? Start to keep that speed and alternate the other. It's challenging, isn't it? Let's try it again. Oh my God. Are you doing it? It does get easier with practice. And I think what we're learning here is how to create these new neural pathways in our brains, which is really encouraging because it means we can learn new things as we get older. And just because we're grown-ups doesn't mean it's impossible for us to change or grow. So let's just remember that little mind trick, little mind exercise whenever we need a little stimulation for the brain, when we just want to change our reality and flip the script on what is going on in here. Do one of those. So we're going to start in down dog. All right. Hands out in front. Curl the toes under. Lift the knees. Waggle your hips. Start to push into your hands. And then draw the thigh bones back. And here we're going to pedal the feet. We're going to just enjoy. My mat is making this incredible sound because there's this fine granular that's on the floor underneath my mat, like sand, probably from the mortar joints that are all around me. And it's just making this wonderful crunchy sound. So just taking in your environment, starting to move from the outward into the inward. It could start with sound and taste and just distant noises. And then we're going to start bringing it more onto the internal landscape, sensation in the body. An invitation to quiet the mind. Maybe give it a toy. And the toy that I often give them is the breath. Just watching the breath. And we're going to raise the heels and lower the heels for 3 sets. Inhale, heels raise up, and then glance between the space between your heels and imagine you're hugging a little block in between them. So creating a sense of stability across the ankles. And then exhale, reach the heels straight back, maybe lifting the toes. 2 more. Inhale to lift. Exhale to draw back. And inhale, lift. And we're going to stay there, fold the tail under, and start to roll through, coming into a plank. Getting nice and long in our planks here. Starting to build a little heat. Inhale, get long. Exhale, draw your knees to the floor. Inhale. Exhale, reach them back. Inhale to get long. Exhale to lower your knees. Inhale. Exhale, lift. 1 more. Inhale. Exhale, lower the knees 1 more time. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale, lift. And pushing back to down dog. Good. We're going to lower the knees down to the floor here. Walk the hands back. Taking a moment to just waggle the hips from side to side. Inhale to roll through the spine. Exhale, opening up. Inhale. And exhale. All right. Let's come into a down dog. Take a nice deep breath in. Exhale, just lowering down to the knees. Inhale, breathing that right leg up. Exhale, you can take your left fingertip out to the left side of your mat. Now really tuck the tail under
And you'll feel your hamstrings start to work as you bend that right knee. If you want to work on the balance, you could extend that left arm long, or just keep it. Just one finger down, just to create a little bit of a kickstand. And now extend through that right leg, plant the left one, and open that right hip up to the side wall. And if you're lucky enough to have a shadow to play with, you can create little circles and watch. Play with your own shadow. Switching directions. And then exhale, coming back to all fours. And let's switch sides. Inhale, the left leg comes back. Hello, left leg. Good, nice and long through the crown of the head. And then take your fingertip. Just create a little stability there. Testing your balance. Let's tuck the tail under, bending that back knee. So working on contracting the hamstring of the left leg. If you want to work and challenge the balance a little bit more, you can go for it. Good, and then we'll plant the hand down, extending through the back leg. Open it up to the side and start to draw some circles. 2, 3. Oh, it's 2 o'clock. There we go. We'll do 2 more in the other direction. Good, and then leveling the hips, and then lowering that down. Good. Inhale to coil the tail under. And exhale, release, rolling the shoulders back a few times. Just allowing yourself to be spontaneous, right? This is your practice, this is your body. So just take a moment to get into the wrists. You can rotate the wrists, pointing them inward, fingertips inward, creating a few circles here. Allowing the hand to really grip. Let's flip them back and see how that feels. Just forward and back. Opening up the wrists, pressing into the thumb, pressing into the baby finger a little bit. Good, and then coming back. Let's bring those hips over the heels, lift ourselves up into down dog. And inhale, let's pick that right leg up, keep the pelvis neutral. Exhale, let's step it through, coming into a nice low lunge. Inhale to breathe the arms up. You can leave the back toe flat, or you can try to curl the toes under. Good, now really tuck the tail, reaching the heart up towards the sky. And then exhale, let's plant the hand, left hand down. Exhale, open up, coming into a little revolving twist here, gazing up to the top arm. And exhale, plant the right hand down, stepping back, downward dog, shaking out the head. Try to find your lumbar curve, lifting those sitting bones back. Inhale, left leg hovers up. Neutral pelvis. Exhale, scooping it through. You can always hop that foot forward in multiple little movements to get there. And then leave the toes flat or tuck them under and push up out of the floor. You can always create these little pulses in the movement. You don't have to stay still. It's not about being a statue. We're these living things. So really allow the body to explore all these different, in yoga it's called the winds, the vayus. So there's this inner collection, this outer sprawling, the downward grounding, the upward lifting. We're always exploring these tensions, these different polarities. So play there. Deep breath in, beaming the heart up, tucking the tail under. Then exhale, let's plant the right hand down. Lengthen through the crown of the head. Exhale, rotate the shoulders to the left side of your mat. Just breathing here. Maybe you bring your gaze up to the top hand and look beyond the hand. The gaze is 1,000,000 miles away. And And then exhale, we'll plant the hands down. Stepping the back foot forward, just grabbing for opposite elbows and hang, resting your belly on top of the thighs if that feels okay. Shaking out your head. Now fingertip the floor, you can grab for blocks if you have blocks. They can be a nice way to raise up the floor. And depending on how your hamstrings are feeling, I would suggest going a little easier on them so that they feel incredibly confident before you ask them to stretch. Guys, we're gonna lengthen through the crown of the head. Start to wake up the legs. So how do you do that? Maybe try to separate your toes apart. Make sure that the knees are tracking over the first and second toe. And just wag your hips from side to side. Notice if that comes easy or if there is a side that feels stuck. And just giving it some love here. Those tight muscles will loosen for us. Good. And then exhale, let's just relax. Again, belly over the thighs and let the head just fall between the blocks. Or if you're using the floor or your shins, just dangle your head in space. Let's try 2 more of those. Inhale, let's lengthen the spine. Exhale, forward fold. And 1 more, inhale. And exhale. And grounding through the feet, inhale, come all the way up to standing. And exhale. Samastiti Tadasana. This is your blueprint pose. This is your pose where you are in your best vertical alignment. This is your proud stance. This is your I am me and I am confident about who I am stance. So we're stacking our ears over the shoulders over the hips, and so on all the way down to the ankles. So just stacking bones, waving your hips from side to side. I'm gonna face front here for you. Inhale, we'll breathe those arms up. Let's keep our feet a little bit further apart, just so we have a nice grounded base. Interclasp your fingers, release the index finger. Inhale, and then exhale, come up and over to the right side. I'll mirror you, so I'm gonna come over to the same side as you. Good, really grounding through the feet. Put a little micro bend in the back of the knee. And just notice here, where are you in space? Like, are you still in your plumb line? So imagine that you're a fountain and you don't want a kink in the hose. So you want the water to shoot straight up and over. I always like to pull on the base knuckles of the top hand, and you get a little bit more stretch through the skin on the top side of your bend. And then exhale, let's switch sides. Let's reverse the clasp of the hands so it feels very funny and strange. And again, we're creating new neural pathways. It's the same pose, and we're just reversing it in the way that we're not habituated to move, and it feels so weird, so different. Such a small thing we can do to notice our patterning. Just changing perspective. Breathing through the side body. Maybe you start to inch your heart up towards the sky. Draw the shoulders down the back, soften something. And then exhale, coming back up to standing. Now we're going to sit back, maybe open the toes a little bit. Maybe wiggle them out just so that you can start to draw your hips down towards the floor. And then we're going to turn the palms up. And that just invite the triceps to scoop onto the insides of the legs. And we're just gonna hang out here for a sec. Oh yeah, how does that feel? And again, Mr. Block can be very helpful if you don't spend a lot of time in a squat. Some people do, some people don't. So wherever you are, you can place yourself on your seat, not as a crutch, but just as a bit of a guardrail for you. So keep pushing through your feet. Good. And then we're going to just shift the weight into the right foot. You can grab onto the right ankle for some stability and then gently press that back. And this other leg is going to create a bit of a nest here. We're just going to push it out to the side. Just create a gentle rocking back and forth. Now you can, again, use the block just as a little bit of an elevated support here. The shoulders draw back and down. Turn your gaze, breathe, and play. It's like, where do I feel this? If I move here, how do I feel that differently? Get to know yourself, get to know how one side might feel differently from the other. And we're gonna switch sides, so shifting the weight over into the other side, grasping for your ankle, create a little bit of a nest, shifting the weight over to my left hip, and then lengthening that right knee away, moving it, tracking a line past the crease between my first and second toe. So it's just growing and growing and growing. Out from my hip joint, softening something. Create a sense of lightness across the face. Remind yourself it's only yoga, but such a powerful thing we can do for ourselves, isn't it? Staying in the sensation, letting it relax, letting the body feel safe. Now we're going to shift the weight, push into the feet, shift the weight back to center. Start to push to come up, raising the hips up, walking the feet in, and just shifting from side to side. Fingertip to the floor with the right hand. Again, option to use a block to elevate the floor at any time. And even if you find yourself super bendy, it's so nice to play with this a little bit. Just allow yourself these different angles to explore. So try to level your pelvis. Imagine someone has just placed a silver tea set on your sacrum and you don't want it to spill because that would hurt and it would be wasteful. And then exhale, we're gonna rotate over towards the right side. And then if you wanna start playing with the lift of the hip creases, try to air out your hip creases. Maybe you send your thigh bones towards the back wall, but keep a soft bend in them. Maybe you bring your gaze up. Just tracking your eyes. Now keep that right shoulder nice and broad open and bring your gaze down towards the floor. So think the heart is pointing to the side, your navel is pointing towards the floor. Deep breath in and exhale. Switch, grasping that left outer shin and start to peek under your left armpit. You can bend the right knee here. Draw the shoulders up and away from the ears. And then exhale. We'll switch sides. All right, right palm to the block. Inhale to lengthen through the crown. Exhale to rotate and let the gaze just come along for the ride. Wagging those hips. It's sometimes helpful to find your shoulders in space if you let them lift up and then you draw them down to the back and then you sink them into the back to lift your heart. Start to beam that heart up towards the ceiling. Exhale, draw your gaze downward toward the floor. We try to maintain our T set so we don't spill. Navel points down, heart just doing its best to point towards the sidewall. Good. And then exhale, let's crisscross that hand over to the opposite shin now and peek. Let's take a look. You can bend into that left leg, pressing into the right heel, gazing under the right armpit. And sway and explore. Good. Get the circulation going through those legs. And we're going to lift that block off to the side if we're working with blocks. Inhale to lift the shins. Plant your hands or place your hands on your hips. Push into those legs to come up. Yeah. And we're going to circle the hips. Stepping to the front of the mat. Inhale to breathe the arms up, gazing up. Then exhale, hinging at your hips, just pouring over those feet. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, let's step the left leg back. Breathing our way into a nice low lunge here on the right side. Exhale, plant the hands, and we're going to curl those left toes back and gently move our way back, coming into a half split. Now, you don't have to be sitting on your heel. You can be working up higher. Again, I'll show you what this could look like with blocks. It's a nice alternative just to work at a different angle. And we'll work on leveling the pelvis, drawing that right hip crease back, and just wag your hips from side to side. Try to create a few circles and switching direction. Good. And then we'll plant those blocks at the top of the mat. And we're going to heel toe that right foot over to the left edge of the mat and draw that left leg in, coming into a 90-90 here. So hands come to heart center, inhale. We're going to angle the body to 45-degree angle. Take a deep breath in, exhale, tipping forward. Press into the legs to slowly come up. And then exhale, we'll slowly set the hips back down. Just taking a moment to pause. Inhale, pushing into the legs to slowly come up. And then exhale, coming back down. It's amazing when you're doing yoga. One more, inhale. It's a bit of a tourist attraction here, so I feel a little bit kind of like on display. People are looking in at us. Good, and then from there, we're going to try to lift the back leg up. You can swivel your shoulders to the front of your mat. Lift that back leg up. It doesn't have to be high, just wherever it goes. It could even be a millimeter off the floor. And then we're going to push the inner heel into the floor. Try to do the same with the knee. So we're lifting that up. And all of you former ballerinas out there will know this. You'll remember these muscles. You'll be like, oh my God, yeah, I remember those. So pushing into your hands, and then switch one more time. Lifting the back heel, and then switch, lift back knee. Beautiful. Good, and then from there we're going to lift both, extend that back leg, and start to draw a beautiful line, coming all the way across. And you can either stack the hips or crisscross the legs. So you choose. This one is more accessible if you're not ready for a deeper version. And if you want to stack them like fire logs, you can try that. And I am feeling particularly tight today on this one. So I am going to take it easy. Inhale, get long through the spine, and then exhale. You can fingertip the floor and just let gravity take your upper body as this gentle weight. You can start to relax the weight of your head. Again, the option with blocks would be to stack them so that they can catch and support your brow bone. And then inhale to slowly come up. Thought you'd appreciate just taking a break from any voices in that. Just noticing the power of silence. Let's take that leg, redirect that hip back where it came from. Try to point your hip bones to the front and then gently rest it down. And then we're going to open up to the other side. Switch. Good. It's good. Now, from here, hands come to heart center. We'll rotate to 45 degrees. Now we're going to take that back leg, scoop it around, come onto all fours, and lift ourselves up into a down dog. Shaking out the head. Inhale, the heels lift up. Exhale, we're going to step that right leg forward, left knee down. Just curling the toes under if you wish to come into a nice crescent here. And then moving this hip crease back as we make our way to whatever version of this halfway split. I'm going to grab my blocks. Coming into your Hanumanasana, it's called, half split. And just playing with whatever height that allows you to get into those hips. Try to create some circles. Good. And then slowly pushing forward. Heel toe that front foot. I did the wrong leg. Okay. Okay. Oh, making our way to down dog. Inhale, heels lift. Exhale, just walking the feet to the top of the mat. Inhale. Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale into Uttanasana, just hanging forward. And circling all the way up to standing. Gazing past the thumbs. Exhale into Samastiti. Inhale, arms up. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, let's pick up the left foot. Exhale, let's pick up the right foot. Sending it back, finding our way to crescent. Inhale, let's pick up that right foot. Making our way to a low lunge. Just enjoying that. Grabbing for your blocks if you want to work with blocks. And let's just play in this half split. This time we're sending that left hip crease back. Trying to find a home base with our pelvis. And then just swaying from side to side. Just staying with sensations. Noticing where in the messaging between your brain and your body is getting hung up. So if there's a spot that you feel kind of like there's amnesia to get the movement to complete in a symmetrical way or in a pattern that you're aiming for, just go over, redraw over that line a few times over and over again until that circle becomes more clear. It takes time. It may not happen on the first practice, right? That's not the point. Again, just finding something new in the position. And then exhale. Let's push into that front foot, heel toe it, finding our way to our 90-90 on the other side. Hands come to heart center. Let's root up out of our pelvis, out of our seat. Exhale to twist. And then from here, you're going to hinge forward. So you're lifting your sitting bones back, pushing into the legs, and then maybe you come up, or maybe you just aim to come up, and one day you get a little bit more height. This resistance training of your own body weight can be so good for us. Good, and then slowly setting ourselves back down. We're going to lift that back leg, angling our shoulders to the front of the mat. Just noticing how that feels. Notice if there's any tension in the jaw you can let go of. And switch. Just letting the heat build, letting the intensity build. Try one more. lengthening through the crown. Try to lift your knee. Oh, those poses that are really challenging for us, those tend to be the ones we need. Now we're gonna do both at the same time. Try to lift that leg. Good, good, good. And then we'll extend through that back leg and hover, hover, hover. Mission Impossible style. Now you can crisscross your legs or you can stack. We try not to use our hands. That's the game. But it's okay if you do. It's just we're trying not to. And then take a moment to get long in the spine. And then exhale, hinging forward. Build this up so you feel very supported. So one side might need more support than the other. For me, that is definitely true this moment. And just resting the palms to face up here. Just taking a few more breaths of silence. And inhale, bring your gaze up. And exhale to slowly sit up. You can place those off to the side. Just take a minute to roll down onto your back. And placing the soles of the feet nice and firmly on the mat. Just landing here for a second. Good. And then we're going to make sure we're centered in our mats. Extend through the left leg. And draw that right leg up and into the chest. Imagine that you're standing in the center of the room here. So that left foot is parallel, pointing straight up, as if you're balancing on one leg. And exhale, extend that top leg, interclasp your fingers behind the thigh. And you could put a little bend in that leg, see how that feels. And then we're just going to gently play with some ranges of motion, just at the edge of our flexibility threshold. So don't be right there at the edge of like quivering, but bend the leg enough so that you have a little bit of give to play with. And you're going to draw some circles with your hips here. Keep pushing the left heel into the floor to keep it just gently activated. And then from here, you're going to bend that knee and see if you can come into that same position of fire log pose. And then let's take that left knee and help it along. And you can just either place your hands in half cactus. We're going to let the legs do the work here. Start to move that right knee away and out. Keep hugging the left knee in. Soften your jaw. Let the legs get strong. Let them start to get to the point where they might even shake a little. And then we'll take the hands, grab for the outer foot, and just create a little bit more movement here. So I'm taking the right heel and move of the right thigh, inner thigh, and I'm moving it as if I'm creating this flag post. And I want to point my knee up to become this beautiful vertical element, as the designers would say. Good, so we'll just draw that up, hugging it in. And now keep the tension of this left knee. It's, we're working here. We're working here. Just notice where you feel that in the hip. Does it change it? And then we're going to soften this left leg down. Take the right leg, switch the grip, and just roll it open to the side. Now my left hip is jacked right up. I'm not wrenching it down or anything. But then you can try to invite it to get a little heavier, and then extend through that left leg if you want. We're just playing here. Keep pressing through that left heel gently, but you can let the left hip just lift. We're just allowing that right knee to track its way to the floor. It may touch, it may not. And then start to straighten it just to the point where you can't go any further. So just play that with that. And then we'll slowly come back, bending the left knee, float the right leg down. Just take a moment to rest. We're going to switch sides. So left knee comes up, start to angle it out. And then once we have that, we're going to take that right leg and just help stretch it a little bit further to get into the hip. And this left knee is thinking of moving away from the floor and outward in line with your hip. So we're just going to hang out here. The arms can float back up. Staying quite active with this. And then from here, moving through the next stage, take the arms down. We're going to grab for the outer left foot and start to gesture this heel towards the right hip crease, and then create a little nest with that left palm, moving the skin in and away, upward, as if it's kind of coming into the midline. And stay hugging with that right knee. And just notice where you might feel this in the hip. How does it change the opening that you're experiencing? And just, nothing has to be static. Just play in it. And then we'll slowly float that right foot down. Give yourself a little hug here. Extend that right leg nice and long. Interclasp your fingers behind the left leg. Put a little soft bend in it and just play. So we're balancing on the right standing leg now. Just closing the loop on this little sequence. And then we'll bend the right foot, the right knee, and we're going to just then grab for the outer left foot and float that knee down towards the floor. And the right hip's going to lift. Hang out here. If you want to extend through the right leg, you can. And then you can start to bend and straighten that left leg just to the point where just exploring new ranges of motion across the back of the hamstring. Good. And then we'll slowly bend both legs. Let's take a moment to tent the feet. Again, we'll float those legs up. cross the left over the right. Coming into a nice supine twist here. And gently make your way to the other side. Heel toe that left foot out. Lift the hips off to the right a little. And let the knees come over. And bringing your gaze back up. And now if you have time for a little Shavasana, I suggest you take a few minutes here. But if it's your time to go, you can roll up on one side. Thank you for practicing with me. Work on this for next time. I'll work on it too. Bye. Namaste.